Look, I know this is a Linkin Park episode. This is part 2 that everybody's been waiting for. But, yeah, this hot sauce is really fucking good, man.
What type of hot sauce is
It is Dustin Poirier's Louisiana style KO edition hot sauce with the ghost pepper in it. And just as a little testament, you guys, we're going to be talking UFC 291 on the next episode, where Dustin Poirier will face off for the second time against Justin Gaethje for the vacant BMF title. And Dustin Diamond Poirier, if you're watching this right now, I love your stuff. You're my favorite fighter. It would mean the world if you could give me at least a case of hot sauce. And I'll even display it on the podcast, give you more marketing. Anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Front Row Access Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Russo. This is my co-host, Anthony.
Hello.
We are here to wrap up Linkin Park for the day because we went over the classic era of Linkin Park last episode. We went over Hybrid Theory, we went over Meteora, and we went over Minutes to Midnight. And one of the strong points that I made with Minutes to Midnight is that it was the perfect opening to enter the new era of Linkin Park. Linkin Park's electronic era, if you will. So, our standout, we're going to be going over a couple of albums for you today. We're going to go over 1,000 Suns, their 2010 album. We're going to go over Living Things, their 2012 album. We're going to go over Hunting Party from 2014. And we're going to go over One More Light. So stay strapped in, and we're going to get to it. And I promise you, it's going to be a good episode. So first, we should start off with 1,000 Suns.
Saying that because regular?
Yeah. Anyway, we're back in now. So we're going to be doing 1,000 Suns first. This one was an extremely different album for Linkin Park. I love to say that this album was very apocalyptic in nature, seeming as Minutes to Midnight is literally a nuclear war reference. Minutes to Midnight is how many minutes until a nuclear bomb goes off.
1,000 Suns.
What about 1,000 Suns?
You're talking Minutes to Midnight?
Minutes to Midnight and then, 1,000 Suns. It's kind of, yeah. Oppenheimer, I don't know. So, very apocalyptic sounding, very dark-ish, vibe coming out of Linkin Park, very wildly different. Now, as we know, they switched up their sound a little bit in 2007 when they released Minutes to Midnight. Less of a nu metal rap rock group and more of an alternative rock and a little bit more soulful, a little bit more like pop and a little bit more focus.
Both a ballad and a curse word in it.
Yeah, they both had they had their first ballad in there and their first curse word in it. I mean, screaming "Put me out of my fucking misery" is definitely a new sound for Linkin Park. Anyway, so 1,000 Suns came 3 years afterwards. Obviously, you guys can do math. And let's see, the exact date it came out was September 8th, 2010. Jesus Christ, I was in the first grade.
I was in 10.
You know. Yeah. So, 1,000 Suns was wildly different. Now, if you know one thing about the 2010s was filled with a lot of electronic music. A lot of electro pop, a lot of electro rock, a lot of, that kind of electronic, dance pop kind of feel, And Linkin Park wanted to adjust with their time. So, they created their own version of, a very electronic rock album. They just made it a little bit not as club bumpy feeling and more of a, oh shit, I can actually make sounds that make you feel like you're in the apocalypse and set that kind of vibe up. And if you look at the cover of 1,000 Suns, I don't know if you can see that in the camera. Lawrence, if they can't see it, put a picture if you can. And it looks strange. You don't really, before, this is the first album cover that looked extremely strange. I mean, yeah, we had a street soldier at one point, but that, at least looked cool. It had, Linkin Park on it. And this is the first one that didn't have, Linkin Park on the front of the album. I mean, I think it might have in, the bottom right corner. But, it was very, blinded by the white of the background. And it kind of looks like, I don't even know what that you can say.
Honestly, I was thinking when I looked at it, kind of looks like those ink drawings that you're supposed to interpret.
Ah,
What's
that
this look
actually
like
would
to you?
explain a lot. Especially since this is a very highly interpretive kind of album. Because it can be taken in multiple ways because of the way it's presented. So anyway, a couple of breakout tracks off of Thousand Suns. Just all in all, some of the bigger hits that came out of it were Waiting for the End, Iridescent, and Catalyst, and The Messenger. Those were the biggest songs that came out of the album. And Anthony, since I left you out on Minutes to Midnight, would you like to share your favorites off of A Thousand Suns first?
Sure. I like the first one, the Requiem. I liked. I'm gonna say Iridescent the most though, and then Wisdom, Justice, and Love.
Ah, the good old speech that they put in there.
Yep.
So yeah, if I had to go over like what my favorite tracks were on this, it's my favorite track off the album, without a doubt, is is not even not the Catalyst. Catalyst is second favorite, but it's Waiting for the End. So it's Waiting for the End, Catalyst, and then I love Robot Boy. And then of course, if I had to choose like a favorite, like because there are a lot of interludes on this album, it was the Radiance. I really like that one. It was very mysterious sounding. But yeah, I also love Burning in the Skies. This whole album I actually really love.
I was gonna say it's a Transformers fan. I thought you'd pick Iridescent for sure.
Oh yeah, I love Iridescent. But the thing with like there are so many other songs on the album that I don't know I have more of a connection to than I do with Iridescent. I have a connection to Iridescent, obviously. I listen to it very regularly. And I absolutely love the way it sounds. We're actually going to start off with Iridescent. The way I love to think about this album is it kind of feels like you're flying. You get the sound and you kind of feel like you're flying. You start off very slow, and then as it goes on, you kind of like do a little thing like this, and then you start going up and up, and then all of a sudden you have all these sounds in your ears, and you're like, wait, this was a very slow song at first. So anyway, we're gonna jump right into Iridescent, since that is a very, very, very good song off of this album, and it was on Transformers. So, and that's like one of my favorite movie franchises like ever. So yeah, that's right. I like it. I like Michael Bay. Hell yeah.
Apparently, I just don't get it. They saw the latest movie. I did not.
Why
But
not?
it's only because I haven't seen 3 and up. I haven't seen the third one up from Transformers. It's a lot of different movies.
There's a lot of different Transformers movies. You don't really need those to interpret the new one, but of course, watch how you want to watch them. So anyway, we're gonna start with Iridescent here, and here we go. We start off this track with a very dark and mysterious piano sound in the background, and then we have Mike Shinoda cutting in with some singing instead of rapping, which is unheard of. And at this point in time, obviously, we all know Mike Shinoda has a tremendous voice these days. But we say when he starts off with, when you were standing in the wake of devastation, when you were waiting on the edge of the unknown, and with the cataclysm raining down, insides crying, save me now, you were there impossibly alone. So, to me, it might be just the way I interpret this whole thing, but the way I see Iridescent is it's told from the perspective of like a guardian angel, if you will. Somebody that's always watching over you, and somebody that always wants you to like prosper and be healthy and happy. And then, as you see it right there, you were standing on the edge of the unknown in the wake of devastation. You like your inside's crying, save me now, but you were there impossibly alone. It shows that this entity doesn't really want you to be alone. They don't want you to. And then we have Chester come in with the do you feel cold and lost in desperation? You build up hope, but failure's all you've known. Remember all the sadness and frustration and let it go. Let it go. And I don't mean Frozen when I'm doing that. This is the original Let It Go, bitch. But like once again, this goes back to like how I think it's like told from like a guardian angel's perspective. Like, do you feel cold and lost? It shows that I'm like trying to look out for you. I don't want you to feel that way. You build up hope, but failure is all you've known. Kind of deal. Like, why are you thinking like that? But remember all that sadness and frustration. Like, just I'm here. I can help you. Just let it go. You're beyond this. You don't need that. I'm here to protect you in a way. I get very protection vibes from this. It's very weird. I don't know. Anthony, you get those kind of vibes from this?
To an extent, yeah.
Anyway, so we go into the next line, which is, and in a bursting light that blinded every angel, as if the sky had blown the heavens into stars, you felt the gravity of tempered grace and falling into empty space with no one there to catch you in your arms, in their arms. There's a lot there. So it's kind of be like when you're in this apocalypse, you're out there, you see the whole sky, and it kind of looks like you can blind every angel. And then like just heavens disappear and all that, and then you're falling into empty space, and no one's there to catch you in your arms. It could mean in a literal sense, since this is a very apocalyptic sounding album. You could literally think about it in an apocalyptic perspective, but you can also think about it more sentimental and more like you have this your burst of light could be like this one gigantic moment that like everything just like this tower moment, if you will, that like everything just comes crashing down on you. If you're into tarot, you know what a tower moment is. When you get the card, and when you get the card the tower, it usually means a destruction to a rebuilding. So like but like the tower has to fall first. So that means you have to like witness a shit ton of destruction before you can grow from it. That's kind of what it means if you're into tarot at all. But your burst of light could be like your tower moment, like this moment where everything just kind of said fuck you and turned on you real quick, and then it feels like the sky blew all your hope away, blew the heavens into stars. Like all of a sudden, like oh man, I'm stuck here now. Had this whole tower movement moment, everything that I wished for, and everything that I built, everything that I loved, everything that I know is gone. There's no way I can ever recover from this. Now I feel like I'm falling into just empty space. Like I'm just falling into nothingness, falling into darkness, and there's no one there to catch you in their arms. And I don't know. Then we go back into the chorus with "Do you feel lost and cold and lost, desperation, build up hope, failure's all you know." Just goes back to that guardian again. No one's there to catch you, huh? Is that what you're saying? Type of deal. Kind of like saying like how you feel from like a different perspective. Like
Yeah, a different a different perspective from the same person about how this moment is impacting you and how you'll manage it afterwards.
yeah, because like I said, it's like somebody's watching you. I was like, I bet you built up all this hope, and but failure's all you've known. I bet you you were gonna fall into. You feel like you're falling into empty space, and no one's there to catch you. It's kind of very understanding. Like I know what you're going through. I'm watching you. I know what you're going through. I understand your pain, but I'm here to tell you to let that shit go, dog. All of this will work out eventually, and I'm going to be with you every step of the way. I kind of get that whole vibe from Iridescent, and then at this point in the song, after they do the second verse, like the instrumentals start to kick up a little bit, and then you start to go on that like we started like here, we started like ground level. Now we're like up here, and then all of a sudden the instruments come in. Now we're starting to go like this. Now you gotta know, you know what I'm saying if you listen to 1,000 Suns. I told you to on the last one, but if you didn't, it's okay. I forgive you. Just go and listen to it afterwards. I get it. Binging the Linkin Park, I do it all the time. It's okay. But yeah. At this point, like it's like you're starting to like go up. You're starting to take flight, and then have this really cool moment right at the middle of the song before like the last like bridge where like they have like these like electronic like voices, like these voices that aren't the band's voices, just probably like guest vocalists, but like they put like makes it sound like they're in a crowd and they're all like singing, "Do you feel cold and lost in desperation?" Like all these voices that aren't Chester and Mike are singing now, and it shows that like this guardian figure, whomever it may be, got the message across, and now to all the people that they affected, they're starting to spread it to everybody else. And then at the like remember all the sadness and frustration, let it go. And then let it go, and they like kick it up more, and then it sounds really awesome. Now at this point, you're like up in the clouds somewhere. You fly in at this point. That's what I mean. Like this song, like as it goes on, it's like you get more hopeful as time goes on. Like you start this very very low place, this place where it sounds all dark, sounds apocalyptic, sounds like that world just fucking ended. But then all of a sudden you like hear like the trumpet, the choir of heaven, essentially.
I was thinking along the lines of a journey where you're starting off by yourself and you've got that voice that's keeping you going, and eventually it does break through and you're able to move higher from where you are, which is why it starts down low, and then you steadily rise up and you realize you're not as alone, which is when all the other voices come in to help uplift you and
Yep. Which could be, if you're going with my perspective, it could be other angels, could be ancestors, ancestral spirits, if you're into that stuff. But, like, all just lifting you up. And once again, guys, that's hopeful. That's very hopeful. You remember, we were just hopeless 2 albums ago. And so, like, this song is a big jump in, like, maturity for the band. Now they're a little bit, like, at this point in time, they're fathers by this point, I think. At least 2 of them were. And then, oh, Jesus, you could hear my breath from that one. My bad. Anyway, we're back. So, like, you see that sense of maturity with, like, the band there. And you see, like, this, all of a sudden, this big, like, why, like, holy crap, Linkin Park's hopeful right now. Like, they're not, like, dreading all the time anymore. And that's the part that I really like about this song. That, and, like, it's also a very cool sounding song. And the way it's constructed is almost perfect. And I don't know why people shit on this album so hard. I really don't understand. I love this album.
Well, people always shit on change, and as we said, we are leaving the classic era of Linkin Park.
We are now in the new wave, the electronica era of Linkin Park.
Some people aren't gonna like it. Doesn't mean you can't respect it.
There's really only 2 albums that are in the electronic era. Then it goes into a kind of a different one. But, well, right now we're in electronic era. Definitely. Electronic rock, dance pop. Maybe not dance pop, but definitely electronic pop. But that's like what I really love about this song, though, is like how it sounds, the way it's constructed, and the message behind it is obviously it's a corny one. Obviously, everybody's heard that before. Like, let that shit go, dog. But like, it's true. And like, if you're getting called corny for speaking the truth, man, like that just goes to show how much, like, how
I wouldn't be surprised if Elsa quoted this.
yo, trust me, Elsa's inspiration for her fucking song that was inescapable in 2013 and 14. Yeah, fucking lucky duck.
The guy who hasn't seen Frozen yet.
Yeah, I saw it. Multiple times. Some in the same day. Frozen. Let's just say, Elsa's motivation, her inspiration for making Let It Go is Iridescent by Linkin Park. I'm just gonna say it. I'm sorry. Elsa, you're not original girly. I'm sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. Our podcast. Like, you can go take this out in the parking lot if you want, Elsa. Like, bro, you'll probably kill me. But she does have the ability to freeze anything that's water based, and my body is mostly water. So just let me freeze my insides real quick. Why did oh. Hold on one quick second. We back at it. So as I was saying, the Iridescent is like a really, really sentimental song, and it really shows how much the band grew over the course of, let's see, to this point, seven years. Yeah, like 03 was Meteora. This one's out in 2010.
Yep.
So yeah, so 7 years. It goes to show how much growth that they had. Like, they're not just these angsty, angry kids anymore, and I really liked it. And like, I don't know why everybody shits on this album, bro. It's like awful. But like you said, the people are always reluctant to change. But You're never as good as your old shit. The people don't like your new shit, and you'll never be as good as your old shit till your old shit is your new shit. I think Logic said that in one of his songs.
Logic said that and said that. But we're not quoting those guys.
But yeah,
Like, when you said change, I'm like, we're not quoting NF. We got
Linkin Park
we
here.
got Linkin Park on deck.
But you know, these are just other artists that are around. But yeah, that's Iridescent. A very good song, and in a nutshell, it just shows that, yeah, you can't beat anything. All you have to do is, the main thing is, you gotta let go, and don't ever think that you're truly alone or lost or anything like that, because you're not. That's really what you get out of Iridescent, and it's absolutely beautiful. Now, I'm gonna go. Now, speaking of not being alone, that's exactly where Robot Boy highlights perfectly off of this album. Now, this song alone, I don't even really know how to express it. Like, this song makes me want to go and check up on my friends. Like, even if my friends seem okay, you never know. Because, people can seem okay, but, like, they're actually not okay.
It's like before we were talking about, are you listening? Are you really listening?
Yeah.
Are you hearing? Are you really hearing?
Like we said in the first one, like, with Faint. But, Robot Boy is, like, it's told from the perspective, once again, I see it as, like, some, like, observer just looking in on somebody's life. Kind of just like Iridescent. I don't know, I get that whole vibe, like...
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you seeing this as an abstract observer for this album?
Yeah, like, I feel as though, like, from this album, like, we are hearing it from an observer's perspective. Like, some kind of higher power, if you will. Like, for most of the songs on this one, except for, like, Waiting for the End. That one's kind of personal. Same with Burning in the Skies and Blackout. But, for, like, Robot Boy and Iridescent, especially, I feel as though it's, like, very, very, like, higher power, observer, guardian-esque type deals, because they keep saying it from, like, different perspectives as if they're understanding something. And, like, the way it sounds supernatural as shit. And, like, if you go and you listen to the album, it sounds supernatural. It sounds apocalyptic, like I said. And, like it or not, angels, devils, demons, and higher powers are all associates of an apocalypse. So, that's why I kind of get all that vibe. And this one's a fun little album that highlights it. But anyway, Robot Boy. We start off with, you say you're not going to fight because no one will fight for you. And you think there's not enough love and no one to give it to. And you're sure that you've hurt for so long you've got nothing left to lose. So you say you're not going to fight because no one will fight for you. So once again, we got this observer that's been watching this home dude. Home dude's been on a bit of a rough patch. He's probably feeling like the dude in Faint. Say he's not going to fight. He doesn't know what's worth fighting for. So you say you're not going to fight. You say there's not enough love and no one to give it to. He thinks that the world is deprived of love, which is a valid feeling. It definitely feels like that sometimes, based on how... Where is the love? People killing, people dying. Sorry.
we gotta stay on track.
We gotta stay on Linkin Park. We love that song, though. Shout out Black Eyed Peas. Anyway. Like, you say there's not enough love and there's no one to give it to. See, like, there's not enough love in the world. It's gone. And why should I love if, like, I have no one to give it to? Because he may feel like nobody really is worthy of it, Or maybe he's not worthy of it.
Yeah, when you're at your wit's end, it's the end of the rope.
You feel that way. And trust me, we all been there at least once. Could have been like any kind of rough patch in history that you may have, but you say you've hurt for so long that you've got nothing left to lose. That people think like the pain's never ending. Like, we go back to breaking the habit. Home dude's like, yeah, this pain sucks. I can't deal with it. And then you say you've hurt for so long that you've got nothing left to lose. But guess what? You do have something to lose. Guess what? There is a reason to fight. But guess what? There is a love in the world, and there are people to give it to, and you are worthy of it. Like, that's what I'm getting from this. Like, they'd be like, oh, so you say you're not going to fight because no one will fight for you? Well, guess what? There's somebody that's worth fighting for. You're worth fighting for. Stuff like that. And then you say that the weight of the world has kept you from letting go. And you think compassion's a flaw and you'll never let it show, which is horrible. And then and you're sure that you've hurt in a way that no one will never know. But guess what? The weight of the world can make you let go. You don't need to hold the weight of the world on your shoulders. You can't let daily news and what you hear every single day, because it's the same dang thing all over again. Like, I'll use news as an example. The market's always in the trash and the world's in the toilet. And, like, that's always what you're going to hear. And you can't let the weight of the world prevent you from letting go. You can't think that you should be, and maybe you don't have to think of it as an earthly sense, but, like, as, like, taking responsibility that you have to fix everything type of deal. Like, you say the weight of the world, like, say you're, like, struggling to provide for your family or something, and you're like, there's too much weight here. I can't let go because I got too much that I have to let go of. I can't let go of. But saying, like, nah, don't let the weight of the world just weigh you down, because you can let this go. You can move past this.
When you think of something as unbeatable, it turns out to be true. The thought process behind that is what I feel is highlighted by this pretty well.
Yeah. And then this line just kills me. You think compassion's a flaw and you'll never let it show. That just goes to show that this dude's, like, so effed over. Probably feeling like home dude out in figure 9, right? Thinking, like, nobody can ever, like, I can't show compassion for anybody because last time I showed compassion, like, I got walked on like a damn doormat, which, been there. But, you say compassion's a flaw and you'll never let it show, and you might think that, like, having compassion for somebody is just gonna leave you wide open. Like, somebody could be preying on your compassion type of deal. Because that can't happen. It does happen. People will take advantage of you. But, like, he's like, this guardian higher power figure's like, yeah, you think that, but guess what? Some people are worth giving that compassion to. There are people out there that are worth it. And it's definitely not a flaw. It's something that should be treasured, but it's something that you shouldn't give away so liberally, if you will. Like, because you can't just, there's a saying. I love the saying. It's like, if you see a farmer in need, and give him some wheat, give him a couple crops, even give him a cow if you have enough, but never give away the whole farm. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can always do your best to help people. And that's what this, I guess, higher power, if you will, is trying to tell this person that's suffering. Like, look, you can show compassion for people. You can be nice to people. You can show your compassion, because I see you're a very compassionate person. But guess what? The only thing you gotta do is you can't just give it to just anybody. And when you do, don't give away the whole farm, because you need it too. And that's what I really get from that whole, that's how I feel about, like, this whole song. It's just kind of that quote in general. Like I said, this song really makes me want to go and check on my friends and make sure they're okay, because...
So, oddly enough, and this is just my own perspective on that saying whatnot, that saying that you just said sounds a lot like, don't, at the expense of yourself and something you can't get back, don't give. Like, don't give the farm, because then you won't have a farm, whatnot. This feels to me like someone who's constantly been screwed over, who's put their heart, behind walls, it's guarded and whatnot. And the biggest problem with that is that when you're guarded and whatnot, it is so scary and hard to open up to anyone. This voice is just reassuring them that, no, it's not. It's not a flaw in compassion. It's not worth giving up on.
Mm-hmm.
To keep moving forward and keep trying, but not at the expense of yourself or someone that will put you, at odds.
And that's pretty much Robot Boy. It's just a really, like, it makes you, like, take a step back and, like, think, like, how's Anthony doing? If I don't talk to him in a little bit, like, or, like, how's Cindy doing? I haven't talked to her in a little bit. Shout out Cindy. I don't know who Cindy is, but if you're
Cindy.
Shout out. Hope you're doing okay. Anyway, so that's pretty much Robot Boy. And in a nutshell, it's saying there's never no hope. There is a way that you can prevail. there is a way that you can keep going, and there is a way that you can be reassured into still being the gracious person that you can be, and not have it, like, not have yourself believe that, like, compassion's a flaw, or that you shouldn't fight for anything, or that love's not worth giving, or anything like that. Because if you just become cold like that, and you become like that kind of mentality, you're gonna die in misery. I'm sorry.
Be a robot boy.
You're gonna be a robot boy, and like it just yeah, that's pretty much what Robot Boy's going on for. Like, just trying to tell you, like, don't become this emotionless machine. Don't become a robot boy, if you will, because so you're saying all this stuff, but guess what? I have a counter to that, and it's this. And that's what I get from this, like, this little observer, higher power, guardian angel, whatever you want to say, is reassuring this person that's been fucked over one too many times that, hey, look, there's still good out there, and you can keep going. And that's just the truth of life right there. But, another thing but sometimes it gets a little bit hard to keep it going. And then eventually you end up just kind of repeating the same shit over and over again. Which brings me into waiting for the end. Which is very much like that. It's like digging yourself into a grave, putting yourself into it just to dig yourself out of it, to dig yourself into it again. That's kind of what I feel with waiting for the end. And we're going to get into that right now. And it is, so we have this very unique sounding instrumental at the beginning. I can't really describe it, but this is another one of the songs, kind of like Iridescent, where you feel like you're flying. Because it starts off kind of rather like lower, a little bit low key, and then all of a sudden it just kicks up right at the end. And so here we go. We're going to start right here. It says, "This is not the end. This is not the beginning. Just a voice like a riot rock in every revision. But you listen to the tone and the violent rhythm, and though the words sound steady, something's empty within them." So yeah, that's just going into it. It says, "This is not the end. This is not the beginning." This is already hinting at something that keeps repeating itself. And like, it's like a voice like a riot rock in every revision. It's like whenever I make some kind of revision, or whenever I believe I've made some kind of revision to fix this horrendous little loop I'm caught in, it's like a riot comes through and just rocks the whole world. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, damn. Like on the ground. And then like down and out. And they listen to the tone and the violent rhythm, and though the words sound steady, something's empty within them. It's kind of like, once again, I'm going to go back to like relationships with this. It's like, you may like coexist with it gets to a point in time, and it's like a horrible point in time when like you and your partner are just coexisting, and like there's nothing there anymore. And though the words sound steady, like you could still say to somebody like, I love you, like, care about you, shit like that, but like something's empty within them, like it's missing something. Like, even though they probably do mean it, it's like there's that kind of personable connection that they can't seem to get out of it anymore. It's like you become like almost like it's an obligation, you know what I mean?
Yeah, at some points, and especially in cycles, which is what this is kind of what I've heard a lot of, is at some point, instead of doing something because of something, it just becomes emotion that you're stuck and trapped in.
And that's
what I hear from that.
That's exactly it, too. That's like spot on, actually. And then we go back to go to the second part of the voice. We say yeah with fists flying up in the air, like we're holding on to something that's invisible there. Because we're living at the mercy of the pain and the fear until we dead it, forget it, let it all disappear. So yeah, you may even get people, like, you can also think of it like trying to get people to rally behind something too. I think I made this point I think I made this in the old video, so I'm going to do it again. Like, you might not even have to think about it in like a relationship sense. You can be like, think of it like forming a group or like some kind of community. Like, you say, the words may sound steady. You may say yeah with fists flying up in the air, like, yeah, we're going to do this. Yeah, we're going to go and build the fucking bench. We're going to go and build the playground for the kids, you know, stuff like that, trying to rally behind something like, yeah, we're going to save America or something like that, you know, like a presidential campaign type deal. We'll say yeah with fists flying up in the air, like we're holding on to something that's invisible there. It's like we're holding on to this hope that we got this sense of community, but in actuality, we're missing something here. You know what I mean? You can also do it with like a relationship sense too, but like right with this one, I'm like thinking like trying to get people to rally behind like a dead cause. You know what I mean? Something that like they're not fully in on.
Yeah, I was gonna say that also perfectly describes an empty promise. You know,
Yep.
say you'll do this, or say we're all for this, but without actions to back it up, you're really just going through the motion.
It's just empty promises. But yeah, you're just like that's what I get from that. Like that could be it could be like a failed revolution, or it can be like a broken promise, like a terrible one. And then you're like, because we're living at the mercy of the pain and fear until we dead it, forget it, let it all disappear. Like, yeah, we're going to believe in this stuff. Yeah, I'm going to make these promises to you. But guess what? As soon as I get hurt or as soon as I become afraid of something, like if you make a promise in a relationship, per se, and then you're afraid of commitment, then you're like, hey, I'm living at the mercy of the pain and the fear. I don't want to feel that. So if I have to let go of this thing that I promised in order to not have this fear, then I'm gonna do it. Or I have to let go of this thing that I've been trying to fight for. Like we're gonna go and say give all the kids pizza on Fridays when they're not getting pizza on
Pizza
Fridays.
on Friday.
Anyway, you'd be like, yeah, we're gonna give them all pizza on Fridays, but then all of a sudden all the kids like it becomes like I don't know, like not enough money to have pizza on Fridays type of deal. That could be like a pain in the wallet. You know what I mean? And then I'm living at the mercy. And oh, I don't want to feel the pain in the wallet when I have to give the kids an extra $2 to buy a pizza slice on a Friday. I don't want that pain of losing my money. So I don't want the kids to have pizza on Fridays. Type of deal. Like
How much merit is what you're saying going to go into it? If it's just something that you can brush off like that, then
you
just an
didn't
empty
really mean
promise.
it. Just an empty promise or a false cause. And then we get to the chorus. Chester comes in and goes, waiting for the end to come, wishing I had strength to stand. This is not what I had planned. It's out of my control. Flying at the speed of light, thoughts were spinning in my head. So many things were left unsaid, and it's hard to let you go. This screams relationship. You had the broken promise in the last verse. Now you have this. It's hard to, so many things were left unsaid. There were so many things that we said that we didn't mean, things that we should have that we didn't say, things that we meant that we should have said, and like stuff like that. Now I'm just waiting for this end to come, you know? Like when is it gonna stop? Type of deal.
When can I stop having to put up with this?
Exactly. Will it ever be fixed, or am I just gonna have to keep going through every motion, going through this? Because like we said at the beginning, it's not the end, and it's not the beginning either. And then you're like flying at the speed of light, thoughts spinning in my head. So many things were left unsaid. We covered that. It's hard to let you go, and that's true. It's hard to let go of people sometimes, and you don't always want people to leave your life, but unfortunately they will. And and then we go into Chester's part again. I know what it takes to move on, and I know how it feels to lie. Now all I want to do is trade this life for something new, holding on to what I haven't got. So it's like this person's probably moved on from something before. Like they know what it takes to like let something go, but they know it takes a tremendous amount of pain, a tremendous amount of fear in order to get to that point. But they also know how it feels to lie and just say that they're doing okay in this relationship, which I'm going to go back to the relationship again. I'm doing fine, we're fine, when you're actually not fine, actually extremely dissatisfied.
Yeah, putting up a facade just so that you don't have to deal with the issues following it.
Mm. And because I also know what it feels to lie, and it was easier that way. Because then I don't have to go through all this pain, all this fear of being alone, all this pain that'll come with ending this relationship. Because, like, even though, like, I love you, but I don't want to keep you type of deal, you know? And then it's hard, like I said, I'm holding on to what I haven't got. Like, there might have been something, like, crazy in this, we're going to keep doing relationships. Could have been something crazy in this relationship before. A lot of good memories, a lot of good times, right? A truly magical Hallmark level story. And then all of a sudden you're like, it's gone now. And now you're just holding on to something that you're holding on to a memory. Or if you have like a relationship that never got off the ground, you're holding on to the potential of being with that person. You're not really in love with the person. You're in love with the potential that they gave to you, the potential that they showed you, the potential that you saw in them, what your brain created, because you don't want to go into that pain and the fear to get out of, to move on from that kind of connection. That's kind of what happens. How I feel when, like, people say, like, a relationship never got off the ground. Like, you just didn't want to be alone. You were just afraid. So you just tried to lie to yourself, telling them that it's just, like, there's a lot of potential. You guys got along fine, but in actuality, you're just holding on to nothing but thin air and empty promises. But, and then we go into next verse, which is sitting in an empty room trying to forget the past. This was never meant to last, and I wish it wasn't so. I just confirmed my own saying there. Like, I'm realizing now that all of this, like, we might have had something crazy before, might have had a good spark, might have had some good memories even if we were in, like, a relationship or, like, a marriage for a long time. Or, like, a friendship for a long time. Doesn't necessarily need to be romantic. But I'm trying to forget the past that we got, like, maybe some underlying issues that have been there since the beginning that you just chose to subside. And then now you're coming to the realization that it was never meant to last in the first place. And then you wish it wasn't so because you don't want to lose the person, but you're holding yourself back being with them.
None of us want to lose anything.
Nobody. Why would anybody want to let go of something that they own, they possess? Nobody wants to let go of that shit. Like, bro, I'm not giving you this. The fuck? I ain't giving you this shit.
Not even if there was a raffle on the podcast.
Not even if there was a raffle on the podcast. I'm not giving away this shit. Fuck you. You're getting my empty water bottle instead. Here, take it. I'm just kidding.
You can get 5 cents for that.
If I go to the next state over.
I didn't say you. I said they could. The raffle winners.
Yeah, that's true. Here. You want a nickel? Here, take it. Take it. Yeah. Take it from the screen. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So anyway, back to Linkin Park. And then we're going to go into, just the same chorus. I know what it takes to move on. Feels to lie. We already went over that. Then we go into a bridge here. It's like, what was left when that fire was gone? I thought it felt right, but that right was wrong. I was all caught up in the eye of the storm and trying to figure out what it's like moving on. So this person's like, what's left? This fire's gone. What is there left here? Is there anything left? What was left on that? Is there anything that remained? Is there any way that I can restart this fire?
And the fact that he mentioned specifically that you were caught in the eye of the storm, meaning, oh yeah, everything's good, everything's fine here, but really, you're surrounded on all sides by problems that you're going to have to deal with.
And that can happen, and like, this song is especially true with a lot of relationships. This is what I most identify this song with. It's like I was all caught up in the eye of the storm. I was all caught up when things seemed like they were okay. I was all caught up with saying, yeah, everything's fine, when really there was a bunch of underlying issues that both of you were holding on to. And then that's when you ask, like, what was left when that fire was gone? Like, the fire went out, but, like, what did I leave for it? Like, there's nothing that I can do about it. And, like, I was caught up in the eye, and now I'm trying to figure out what it's like moving on again because I couldn't do it. I just got caught up thinking everything was all good, and then all of a sudden, well, we're back here again. Going through the same disappointment over and over and over again. The same cycle's going on. And then we go into the second part. It's like, and I don't even know what kind of things I've said. It goes to show that this person is literally just going through the motions. Like, I don't even know what kind of things I've said. My mouth kept moving, but my mind went dead. Like, I wasn't thinking about everything else. I was just focused on keeping my routine, keeping my comfort level, keeping this person around, if you will. And then when my mouth kept moving, but my mind went dead, I might have said some empty promises. Said yeah with my fist flying up in the air, but then I actually didn't fucking mean shit. But, it could be like, it's like that, and then you're like, now I'm picking up the pieces, and so where to begin? I'm picking up these pieces that's left of, like, people, like, will hold on to, like, pieces of, like, past relationships and shit, and, like, now I'm picking up the pieces now, where to begin, and then this is probably by far the hardest hitting line that I've ever heard in Linkin Park history, and is the one that has not been beat. There's been a couple that came close to it, but for me, at least in my listening of the Linkin Park program, Nothing has compared to this line right here, and I don't even really need to explain. I don't even really need to explain it. So I'm picking up the pieces now. Where to begin? The hardest part of ending is starting again. It just goes and wraps everything up that we've been saying in a bow, and puts it underneath the Christmas tree, with a little star on top, and ornaments and shit. Like, it's like the perfect ending, because it just shows like that. Like, if you want to say, like, because now we're gonna, like, because that's pretty much the end of the song. That's gonna go into another chorus, and then like I said, it starts like kind of mellowed out. But by this point, you're like up here when you have this realization, and then like you hear it with the instrumentals. You hear them kick up, and then you hear them like, go from being kind of mellowed out to now being and out of up and at 'em, kind of like that mind realization, like whoa type of deal. And then that, if you're to explain waiting for the end in a nutshell, it is that line: the hardest part of ending is starting again. So even if you try to start again, you might end up falling back into the same thing that you've been in forever now. Like, that you're not in the beginning of, and you're not at the end of either.
In the eye of.
And you're in the eye of. Like, no matter what part of the storm you're at, that storm's just going to come right back around. It's going to go like, way here, then it's going to come right back around. And then until you realize that you need to move. Like, until you realize you need to move from that house, that storm's going to keep hitting your house.
Something has to change. You can't just keep going through the motions.
Because then you're just going to be holding yourself back the whole time. You're going to be hurting yourself more. You're going to be disappointed all the time. And that's like the perfect way to describe waiting for the end in a nutshell. Is the hardest part of ending is starting again. Because this is just a repeating cycle of a relationship that's just like completely unsatisfied, at least from my perspective. I'm sure, Anthony, you got a different like perspective on it, or?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, like that's exactly what this whole song is, and it's once again like, how this is also another one of those songs by the band that like really shows like their maturity. They're not willing to just stand there anymore. They're not willing to just deal with like, just being trapped in their own brain.
This also shows his action.
And it shows action.
Not just stagnation.
Not just, yeah. You're not just staying in one place. You're not just experiencing the same stuff and just living in your agony, basically.
You're not letting it control you. You're moving.
And now waiting for the end is, even if it's the first step to moving on, it is progress. You're now realizing that, oh shit, I can't do this like this anymore. I can't stay here. You can even like, I know I've been talking about relationships the whole time, but if you really want to go back and like listen to waiting for the end, you can even think about that like personally, like within your own brain. Like, you could just be doing the same shit over and over again, not really realizing that you're holding yourself back. Like, I know I talked a whole lot about relationships because that was kind of the obvious topic in here, but you can also twist it and interpret it as if it's something mental, like depression or like anxiety. Mostly anxiety, it seems, with this song.
That's the great part about the music industry and songs, especially Linkin Park, is it's up for interpretation, and all interpretations are pretty much correct because it's how you perceive it and how it affects you and how you take that going forward.
Which is exactly it. Now we're going to move on to the last song for this album, then we're going to wrap this all up, and then we're going to move on to Living Things. Hold on one second. And we back in. So, yeah, that'll pretty much do it for 1,000 Suns. I looked at the catalog again, and to be honest, I don't really want to go over any of the other songs because they're kind of easy to interpret, and then, but I do want to, like, close it out by saying, like, this was a very, like, huge turning point in, like, Linkin Park's trajectory. Absolutely groundbreaking. Like,
this is not the Linkin Park people were used to
that
hearing.
wasn't that. Like, this, what we just talked about wasn't that. Like, that's probably why that's exactly why so many people shit on it, but as you listen, you actually realize, like, how good of an album it truly is, and, like, how creative they were with making it, and how much they went through, and how much they changed to adapt to, like, what the current sound was.
I imagine that as this was coming out, as it was released, and people were, screaming, breaking the habit, in the end, numb, when they played this CD, they were at a loss for words on how to react to it.
Like, yo, what the fuck is
It's
this?
like, huh?
What? I was just screaming faint a second ago. Why am I talking about do I feel lost in
Did you get the right album?
did I get the right did I get the right one? Is this Linkin Park? No, that's probably it though. But you gotta keep in mind that the sound of the time was very electronic, and Linkin Park said, "Fuck you! If you're gonna do that, I'm gonna do this too."
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Everyone has to be able to adapt in order to fit the climate, the environment, and whatnot that they're in. And this is just showcasing Linkin Park's adaptation for how they're moving.
And it was tremendously built. Like I said, this album has a very mysterious, apocalyptic, and dark vibe to it. But the messages in them are somewhat positive. I mean, of course, you have Burning in the Skies, which is kind of depressing as shit. Like, for the most part, this album is kind of positive. Like, you think about the topics that we've been saying this whole time. Like, sure, you still have the undertones of depression and anxiety, but it's more conquering it and not really living in it.
Seriously, if you went through the Linkin Park albums like we just did, and this is like just your basic scale, it was like, you know, hybrid theory and negative. Overall, the messages and the underlying things. Then you got Meteora is still a bit negative, you know. Then you got Minutes to Midnight.
Still predominantly negative, but
Yeah.
creeping up a little bit.
And then when you hear something like this, 1,000 Suns, you're like, wow, I actually, that's a different feeling than I've been left with before.
And it's a very unique experience. Like, this album's very, I don't like saying the word psychedelic, but it is kind of psychedelic in nature. Kind of like Pink Floyd here, but not exactly like Pink Floyd here, but definitely not like Pink Floyd. But it's kind of like that kind of psychedelic kind of feel to it. It's very dark and it's very mysterious and it's very apocalyptic sounding. You got speeches in there from Martin Luther King with wisdom, justice, and love. You got Oppenheimer talking about the nuclear bomb somewhere in there, and a lot of the interludes are very mysterious. Maybe even like, if you catch you on the wrong day, they're a little scary, a little eerie. I will say. I think eerie's the better word. Like, there's something lingering back here. There's something dark here, but like, you listen to it and like you come out and you're like, what? Yo, I feel like I said, despite its dark sound and apocalyptic nature, it's very positive and very reflective, especially. Like, if you listen to the speeches that they put into all the interludes, or you even just listen to that tiny little electronic voice that's singing in the background of them, or just, taking in the vibes in general, you start to feel like, yeah, it's eerie, but at the same time, it shows hope in a way. Because you gotta go through the dark tunnel in order to get to the other side. And while you're in the dark tunnel, who says you can't have the light of the thought come in? So that's pretty much 1,000 Suns. I beg you to listen to that album in order. Do not shuffle that album. Don't shuffle any of these albums on your first time around, should I say. But definitely don't shuffle this album. Even now, despite me being familiar with every song on it, I still listen to this album in order every time. It's a whole experience that you need to do. And when you got a chance, after you're done listening to this, obviously, or if you haven't already, because I expect you have, because I told you to last time, but those that haven't, wait until we're...
Part 2, you've seen after part 1 when we first told you.
But, take a listen to this album and always do it in order. Like, I never let this album go out of order. I don't shuffle it. So, a couple of years went by. 2010 was a bit of a flop for Linkin Park. Linkin Park's album, 1,000 Suns, I think is its critically, not acclaimed album. It's the least popular album that Linkin Park has ever released, but motherfuckers at the time were expecting another Hybrid Theory. So, I mean, it would make sense. But, Linkin Park, as always, whenever they got in the face of adversity, they went back to the drawing board and they made it better. So, enter their 2012 album, Living Things. It came out in, I think, October. No, it came out in June of 2012. I had just finished the second grade. Holy shit. um,
I just graduated.
you know what?
Are you trying to make me feel old?
No, I'm not trying to. I think I'm
yeah,
doing
you don't
it.
have to try, really.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. I mean, put an example. I was here when these guys first came out.
Yeah.
And that's me sunning you for making me feel old.
So anyway, we have Living Things come out. Linkin Park, I mean, this was a great album. I love Living Things. This is probably, honestly, it's probably like my third favorite album from Linkin Park. I mean, Meteora, Hybrid Theory, they're always going to be number 1 and 2. But this one is number 3 for me, honestly. A lot of people will put Minutes to Midnight here, but to be honest, even though Minutes to Midnight was very experimental and it was very creative, I don't have it all that high on my list because I just don't listen to it a lot. Even though I don't usually skip Linkin Park songs, I find that the songs I skip the most are from Minutes to Midnight. So I think that just means, not that I inherently don't like Minutes to Midnight, I love it, but like it's just that's the one that I'm very mez with. But Living Things was a tremendous album. I love this one. Anything that you might have said was wrong with Iridescent, not Iridescent, Thousand Suns, it got fixed here. Now, of course, we're still riding the electronic wave of the 2010s. So Linkin Park's still very much electronic rock based at this point in time, but it's not as psychedelic with this album. It's a lot more concrete. It's not as dark. It doesn't deal with matters of death. It doesn't matter with dealings of supernatural like a lot of Thousand Suns will do. But Living Things as well focused very much on that, Living Things. And because they did a whole lot of death and robotics and all supernatural apocalyptic bullshit in A Thousand Suns, they gotta switch it up a little bit. So they released Living Things. Now this one came on, I think the lead single off of this one was I wanna say it was Lost in the Echo. I think that was the first one that they released from this. It was either Lost in the Echo or Burn It Down. One of the two. But those are both great songs. We'll go over them. But if I were to choose my favorites off of Living Things, I'm going to go with Lost in the Echo. I'm going with Powerless. And I'm going with Castle of Glass. Anthony?
I would go with Lies, Greed, and Misery.
Love that one.
Roads Untraveled. And probably Burn It Down.
We're building it up. Alright, so we'll start with that one. Let's start with Burn It Down. I think this was the biggest hit off of the album. I believe it was in yet another Transformers movie. But, I'm surprised you guys, I don't know if you guys have noticed the pattern by now, but the reason why Transformers is really up there might be the soundtrack. But of course, I also love Optimus Prime. Autobots roll out. Anyway.
And Megan Fox's acting.
Oh, we love Megan Fox's acting. It was beautiful. I don't know if her acting was that beautiful. She definitely was. And that's all we need. No, I'm just kidding. I just love, I love this one.
I am told 3 ingredients for Michael Bay movies. One's eye candy, the other's explosions, and the other's a high budget.
Yeah, that sounds like a Michael Bay film. Anyway, Burn It Down by Linkin Park. It was probably their biggest hit off of this album, and I don't think it was the first one that they released off the album, though. I think it, actually, it might, fuck, I don't know when they were released. I was very, very little. But, I was, like, 9. Like, but anyway, we started off with The Cycle Repeated as explosions broke in the sky. All that I needed was the one thing that I couldn't find. I'm going back to cycles again. Linkin Park likes to deal with their cycles a lot. So, it's kind of like this realization that, oh shit, well, looks like I'm caught in a little loop again. And all that I needed is the one thing that I couldn't find. And you were there at the turn, waiting to let me know. So it's kind of like, I don't really know how another person gets involved in this. But maybe it was another person that really was helpful in letting them know, like, hey, what the fuck, dude? Do you not see what you're doing to yourself? And, like, you're doing this, that, and the other thing, and it ain't good. How have you not realized this by now? And then you're like, holy shit. That's all that I needed right there to know that I've been in a loop, and now I'm realizing that my cycle repeated. And now you're waiting to let me know that we're building it up to break it back down. Building it up to burn it down, and we can't wait to burn it to the ground. Very awesome sounding track, by the way. Lyrical depth, maybe not so much, but like definitely on the production side, this was a 10 out of 10 for sure. But this goes to show though that sometimes that's kind of how it goes though. You build things up just to break them down again. Yeah, like it goes back to what I was talking about the tower moments earlier. Like these moments that like everything comes crashing down on you. You built all of this and now it's just gone. And now you gotta build it up again, and then you gotta burn it to the ground again.
I would say maybe I would give it more depth than what you're hinting at there, because in this it's a cycle, and the thing is they're anticipating burning it down, which means that they're like reveling in the feeling of destroying what they built up.
Which is kind of showing an excitement to end something that has been plaguing you for years on end. And then we go into the second verse. The colors conflicted as the flames climbed into the clouds. I wanted to fix this, but I couldn't stop from tearing it down. So it's like, yeah, I tried my fucking hardest to fix this shit. I really did, but guess what? Sometimes you can't win them all. And I just couldn't help from tearing it down again. And I'm happy that I'm tearing it down now. Because now I know that I'm going to become something better, something new from the ashes of nothing. And then it says, and you were there at the turn, caught in the burning glow. I was there at the turn, waiting to let you know. Kind of like going back to this person saying, like, hey, look, I know what you said to me. I got it, and now look what I'm doing. I'm fixing, I'm rebuilding. You were right. This thing isn't holding up very well at all. And it's kind of like going back, wanting to, like, you know, thank them. Like, thank whomever was telling you that you were caught. It's like after you've moved past it, after you've burned it down, obviously, and
Taking the steps to get out of this cycle.
taking the steps to get out of the cycle, and now, I mean, you might not be out of it yet, but you know that you're in debt to the person that told you this, and now you're just going back to, like, tell them, hey, look, thank you so much, you helped me so much. Kind of like a therapist, in a way. Like a therapist tells you, hey, look, you're doing this, that, and the other thing. Ever notice that leads back to this thing that you don't like? And they're like, holy fuck. Holy shit. Realization of a lifetime. And then all of a sudden, you're just burning shit down again. So you can become something, so you can build something better and something that's more alive, something that's more stable, something that's gonna make you
better for you and yourself in the long run than what you had.
And then you go back to it. And we're building it up and break it back down. And then we got Mike's little bridge here. He told me yes, and you held me high, and I believe when you told that lie. I played soldier, and you played king. You struck me down as I kissed that ring. You lost that right to hold that crown. I built you up, but you let me down. So when you fall, I'll take my turn and fan the flames as your blazes burn. So this is like, as you're like going to burn down all these towers, everything that you've built, there's this one person, probably the person that's been causing you the most misery, telling you to not do it, and trying to manipulate you into thinking it again, and say, hey, this isn't a bad idea. And anyway, guess what? You told me yes, and you held me high. You just gave me a bunch of head nods. You told me everything was great, but in actuality, you were just trying to keep me here in a cycle of pain. Like, and I believed you. I can't believe I believed you. I played soldier and you played king. I took your orders. It's like getting out of like an abusive relationship in a way.
Taking advantage of him in the first place.
Like straight like no Stockholm syndrome going on here. Like like complete opposite. I played soldier and you played king, and you struck me down when I kissed that ring. So like whenever I gave you praise, you would do nothing but strike me down for it. Whenever I was doing my best to show you that I was doing all of this, like, you still struck me down as I kissed your ring. And you lost that right to hold that crown now. You lost your right to have that much power over me now.
And the admiration that was felt is just
Gone.
as soon as you realize that
they were the one holding you back.
Expense.
Mm-hmm. I built you up, but you let me down. So I built all of this for you. I built all these towers for you. And I built everything because you told me to. I thought it would make you feel better. I thought it would make you accept me. But guess what? That's not the case now. So when you fall, I'll take my turn. And I'll fan the flames as your blazes burn. So it's kind of like, even when your flames are, like, the embers are still there, you're just like, get all that out of there. Like, I take my fucking notebook, and I go like this. So that's basically what's going on here. So if we were to put burn it down in a nutshell, it's don't be afraid to break shit if it ends up benefiting you in the end. Because most of the time, there's things that you built for somebody, and also you can also say like this is just don't let other people define like your worth.
I would say it's also encompasses don't be afraid to start from square one if you realize that there's a problem with how things are run or how you're doing things right now. Because if anyone or anything is taking advantage of you, they're gonna keep doing that as long as you let them. So tear it down, burn it,
And start from scratch because sometimes that's just better than sticking around and trying to fix a broken shit.
Yeah, and don't show remorse to the foot. Fan the flames. You know.
Don't let the flame fizzle out.
I don't like saying it like this, but don't forgive someone who's just gonna put you in that position again.
Right on. So that's Burn It Down, guys. And that was probably the biggest hit off of this album. I think that one hit the radio waves. Now, we're going to go into... do a little, let's see. Lost in the Echo has a very similar message to Burn It Down. And these promises broken... Yeah, pretty much the same one. So, we'll look at the lyrics for Lost in the Echo for a second. Alrighty, so... Yeah, no, the Lost in the Echo has pretty much the same meaning. But, we'll go into, Castle of Glass then. So, Castle of Glass is one of the another, like, very somber Linkin Park song. It's another lights down low type of ballad. And, so it's like, this song has a little, like, fun fact about it. Castle of Glass was actually in one of the Medal of Honor games. I forget exactly which number it was, but it actually did end up winning an award, like a Spike Video Game Award, back when they did those. And it won it for best theme song to a video game in 2012.
That's the one I'm thinking of. It's like Medal of Honor 2, and it's like Wings of Air or something like that. Great game, Medal of Honor. Awesome. Steven Spielberg.
But, yeah, so this was actually in one of the Medal of Honor games, and it was a big hit because of that. They actually performed it at the Spike Music Awards in 2012, when they won the award for Best Theme Song, associating with the video game. So, we started off with Take Me Down to the Riverbend, take me down to the fighting end, and wash the poison from off my skin, and show me how to be whole again. So, this person is unclean. Extremely unclean. Did some pretty shitty shit back in the day. And take me down to the riverbend, take me down to the fighting end, and wash the poison from off my skin. And show me how to be whole again. I've forgotten how to be whole. I've been living partial my whole life. And I need some kind of redemption. This kind of goes back, gives me a lot of what I've done type vibes. And it says, fly me up on a silver wing, past the black where the sirens sing, warm me up in the nova's glow, and draw me down to the dream below. And so, it's just, once again, just pleading to be released. Like, thoughts of release, like, themes of release are very much here. So fly me up on a silver wing and past the black where the sirens sing. So take me beyond space. Take me beyond all of this. And warm me up in a nova's glow. And if you know novas and solar systems, that's like the brightest a star can get. So warm me up in a nova's glow and then drop me down to the dream below. So as soon as I'm done warming up up here, getting myself cleaned, making my little lake bath, and then just drop me back down to the dream below. Because I'm only a crack in this castle of glass, hardly anything there for you to see. For you to see. So this person feels like, because of everything that they've done, you can have this beautiful castle of glass that's built perfectly. He feels as though he's legit a crack in a castle of glass, in a beautiful castle of glass. He is the one imperfection. So it's kind of like, I don't want to be this crack anymore. I want to become a part of the castle of glass. And it says, bring me home in a blinding dream through the secrets that I have seen, and wash the sorrow from off my skin. Now show me how to be whole again. Goes back to the cleansing, man. This dude just wants to not be seen as an imperfection anymore.
He also wants someone to show him the way to do it because
he can't
remember how.
because he's felt like an imperfection for so long. Like I'm picturing like this person with like extremely low self-worth, feeling like they might have done something really bad in the past, and like they've just beaten themselves up this whole time to the point that they have lost so much self-worth that they are like, I feel like I'm a crack in a castle of glass, and I don't know how to get out of this, but I want to get out of this. I feel remorseful for what I've committed, what I've done, and I need someone to help me out here. And then pretty much just ends with the chorus. But point being, Castle of Glass is anybody can be redeemed, despite how you might feel about yourself. No matter what happens, you can always be redeemed.
It's never the case where you shouldn't try to be better than you were, or than you feel you were.
Exactly. And then let's see. We're gonna go into so if you think of Castle of Glass, right? This thing, it's a lot of redemption in that song. Like, I need somebody to help me. I don't want to be like this anymore. I'm powerless, sure, but I know that there's hope for me. We have hope here. Once again, we did not have that a couple albums ago. And the same.
We just got that this year, no? We actually just got that this year, right?
Yeah. But another thing with this one is that the actual like wanting to move forward and not just living with your imperfections like we were doing up in Hybrid Theory, because we definitely were doing that with Crawling, knowing that we were definitely a problem and we just knew that it was our own doing. But now, because we know it's our own doing and we felt like this for so long, we now want to change because we don't want to stay that way anymore. And that's, once again, this album is all about movement. Look at Burn It Down. Look at Lost in the Echo. That song is very similar message to Burn It Down, because Lost in the Echo is pretty much talking about like not really having to worry about anybody else. Not really being like so, how do we say, like impressionable on what other people think. Lost in the Echo is like, yeah, sure. You know, in these promises broken deep below, each word got lost in the echo. So guess what? I'm just going to move on past this because I can't do it. And then that's pretty much going to do it for Castle of Glass. Castle of Glass was like very, very mind-opening, kind of self-reflecting type of track. And once again, it shows that we want to be redeemed, that we feel as though we can be redeemed. We feel like we can break the habit now, not in a literal sense of actually ending it.
And where before there was hopelessness expressed in their albums and whatnot, this is the start, at the very least, of trying to move forward and trying to get help moving forward too.
And that's pretty much the whole theme with Living Things. We don't really need to go over much more because each of the songs that are on here are all about moving away from something negative. You look at Lies, Greed, and Misery. That's moving away from an absolute narcissist, pretty much. I want to see you choke on your lies, swallow up your greed, and suffer all alone in your misery, because fuck you. And you put me through this shit. So, like, I'm done.
Roads Untraveled, good too.
Roads Untraveled. All of this entire album is definitely very good. Roads Untraveled is obviously we all know and love that song. Give up your heart left broken, let your mistakes pass on, and let that mistake pass on, because love that you lost wasn't worth what it cost. So like, once again, this is all about movement.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2 words. Moving on.
Moving on and just moving forward in general. That is the entire theme of living things. Because us as living things, after we go through that gigantic apocalypse that was 1,000 suns, you gotta move on past this. We gotta do the we gotta make some changes here. Like, you look at all the songs on here, they all have themes of moving on, moving forward, moving past something, going beyond something, or realizing that you're worth more, and that you're not powerless. And that's how we end the album, by like saying, I mean, yeah, sure. Powerless is a kind of a depressing song. You held it all, and you held it all, but you were careless to let it fall. Once again, this person's realizing that they have been held back and powerless because of another person. That is the entire theme of living things, and it's absolutely beautiful the way they present it. And unlike the dark themes that came with 1,000 Suns, this one comes with a whole lot more hope. Even though 1,000 Suns did have very hopeful messages in it, they're very underlined by the dark sounding, apocalyptic kind of vibe that 1,000 Suns was giving out there. Living Things is very uplifting. If you listen to all the songs, the instrumentals included, all of them are very, very uplifting and very fast, very happy sounding, if you will. I mean, of course, you're still tackling heavy topics. You're realizing that you're being, like, fucked over by multiple people. But now you're finally moving on. And that's just pretty much, I think, what the message behind the entire album of Living Things is. So if you go and listen to that, you will definitely see what I mean, how every single song on this album has a theme of that. And it is awesome the way that they presented it. But that will conclude Linkin Park's electronica era. We're going to have to actually make this a 3-parter because it is getting late. And I have to get up very early tomorrow. So, because I have to go get beat up at my gym. Yay.
With permission by his trainer.
With permission by my trainer. MMA guys. I do that shit.
He lives that.
I live and breathe that shit. So that's going to conclude Linkin Park's very, very groundbreaking and very impactful and progressive era known as their electronic era, because it showed that they were more than just those angry, angsty kids from Hybrid Theory, Meteora, and Miss Midnight. How they're actually growing into their adulthood. They're becoming adults. They're realizing things that they didn't realize back in their previous albums. You notice some very similarities to NF here? How in the later albums they became more hopeful and became more adult.
No, trying to keep the focus onto one artist, okay?
But yeah.
We can definitely get sidetracked.
This is true. But I just noticed this now, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like on cloud 9 with that shit. But that's going to conclude their very transitional, progressive, experimental, and ultimately groundbreaking era of electronic music, and they actually found a way to make electronic rock sound good. So, I mean, because let's be honest, some electronic rock but anyway, that's just coming from Steven the rock purist, though, who likes instruments and not just sounds. We're going to move into... I can scream for 17 seconds. Indeed, I can.
I've seen it.
We're going to move into Hunting Party and One More Light. So, we're going to call that the twilight, like, the end of the career, the last arc, if you will, of Linkin Park. I'm trying to put a word to it, because obviously you can say electronic arc. The electronic era obviously was Living Things and 1,000 Suns.
The epilogue.
Like the epilogue. This is the result of that type of deal.
Like if you have a story, you have a beginning, middle, and end. We did the intro. We're at the body. Next is going to be the epilogue. And then we can also do the aftermath.
Which we'll definitely cover in the next part. But we're going to be covering, so if you haven't already, go and listen to Hunting Party and One More Light. to get yourself ready for the third part of this 3-part Linkin Park special.
Unless we can figure out how to get 2 and 3 into the same one. I don't know what your editor can do.
Yeah, maybe we can. This might be a 3-parter. It might not be. We'll have to see what happens.
We will work on it.
But we'll move into their final era, their most recent era, their resolution era. We'll leave it at that. So we're gonna go over Hunting Party, which is they kind of went back to their roots there. This was a very good album. It was it's punk rock sounding though.
You say that like there's a not very good Linkin Park album.
This is true. And then we have One More Light, which is the ultimate maturity of the band. This is where they all capped off. This was the conclusion.
Pinnacle.
This is the this was the pinnacle. This is how it. Actually, not pinnacle would be somewhere in the middle. Pinnacle, but this is like the falling action into the resolution. The resolution is One More Light, because then you see because the band matures as they go on, as you've noticed. So One More Light is like they're all fathers now by that point. They're all adults. They're not these angry, angsty kids anymore, and they're definitely not these very unsure and apprehensive young adults like they were in the electronic era. So we'll get into the resolution next time, and until then, I'm your host, Steven Russo.
I'm Anthony.
And it's my co-host, Anthony. And we will see y'all next time.